The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Season 13 of Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico. We've got a great show tonight. Joining me this week on the Coach's Corner panel, of course, is Jim Endicott and Jamie Leno Zimron. I'll tell you a little bit about them here in just a moment. And then later on, I'll be joined again by our travel segment co-host, travel expert Robert Kaufman, alongside this evening's special featured travel guest, the Executive Director of Golf at Wynn Golf Club in Las Vegas. And then a little bit later on, my featured guest of the evening, is Nancy Robitaille, the chief designer and lead brand strategist for Swing Control. She'll be joining me a little bit later on the broadcast. But let me remind everybody, of course, if you want to watch this or any of the other previously aired episodes, you can then subscribe to our iGolf Sports YouTube channel. You can also catch it on Spotify.com. Or if you prefer to listen to the audio version of the podcast, you can simply go to Spreaker.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified as new episodes drop each week. Also, I want to ask you guys out there watching, are you still struggling with your game? Well, then come join the growing number of Golf Tips Premium members with 3 subscription levels available, silver, gold, or platinum, one for every budget. By becoming a Golf Tips Premium member, you'll get access to premium instructional tips from our top 25 instructors, plus the latest golf news and equipment product reviews, as well as insight in some of the top travel destinations just in time to book your next buddy trip. Also, as part of the Golf Tips Premium membership, you receive special discounts from our many premium partners. So register today at golftipsmag.com and join our ever-growing group of premium members. Let me introduce our gang tonight. First up is Jim Endicott. He is PGA Educational Faculty Member and PGA specialized professional in both teaching and coaching. And he's a former Golf Digest School's general manager and a 7-time PGA Award winner, including the 2022 North Florida PGA Section Patriot Award and 2 North Florida PGA Youth Development Awards. And he's also a contributing editor to Golf Tips Magazine, as well as one of the top 25 instructors. Also coming on the panel tonight is another good friend is Jamie Leno Zimron, and she's a Class A LPGA teach professional. She's also a 6th-degree Aikido black belt, somatic psychologist, corporate speaker, and mind-body fitness trainer. And she graduated Phi Beta Kappa from the University of Stanford, and is also the creator of the Ki Golf, the Centered Way. So, Jamie and Jim, welcome to Coach's Corner panel.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to be here. Great to be here with you as well, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, Ted. Happy to be here. Always enjoy these.
I got to say, Jamie, I'm jealous of your background.
This is my new backyard in Mexico.
I know. I hate you. I just hate you.
I know. There's a lake back there.
Don't even go there. No, it's fantastic. So we're going to talk about on tonight's show. This is something, and I want to make sure that I sort of preference this a little bit because there's a lot of areas we can get into, and I want to try to really stay focused and dialed in on specifics, so that we don't add into too many things. Otherwise, you're going to get too far ahead of ourselves here. But one of the things we're going to talk about is some common wedge play issues that a lot of players, because falls into our short game category. Of course, wedge play, you want to be able to dial in and get on a lot of those greens in regulation in many cases. Or if you miss the green, you want to be able to recover quickly. So that brings our wedge game in quite a bit. So, a lot of our amateur golfers tend to struggle with wedge play, and a lot of it stems from poor distance control. Obviously inconsistent contact, and in some cases even incorrect club selection. And these can stem from a lot of different areas, as well as fundamental mistakes in the setup, tempo, and even swing mechanics. But we're going to start things off And Jamie, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. And I'm going to start with distance control and consistency. So one of the issues that I think a lot of our amateur golfers come with is a lack of gapping knowledge. And what I mean by that is obviously like many of the tour pros who kind of know precisely the distances between the different wedges, how far they're hitting each one. Many of amateurs obviously lack a lot of that information because they don't really practice that. And they tend to over-rely or over-reliance, if you will, on the same club. So they use the same wedge all the time. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. It might work for some, but sometimes you have to be a little bit more flexible. So talk a little bit about that. How can they improve on that? And what is it they're not really understanding, the benefits of having maybe more than one wedge in the golf bag?
Great questions. And I think they're really important questions for people to improve their short game and save shots. I know when I was growing up, and probably a lot of folks maybe felt that way, that all they had was a 7-iron. We didn't have 56, 60s, 58, 52s, 54s, all these different lofted wedges to choose from. So I know I learned how to pretty much make a 7-iron work for just about everything. And but it's really nice to have the choices these days. So for the first thing I think people need to understand is the loft. What does it mean, a 52, a 54, bring me my 60, or, that sort of thing. And that what that means, the loft on the club, if this is 0 degrees and you keep going like this, that's what gives loft. So, we're talking a driver might be like this, 9, 10, 11 degrees, not a lot of loft. And it's a wider swing arc and the ball's going farther. So with more loft, we get to 52, 4, 6, 60 degrees. The ball, when you contact it, sort of runs up the face of the club. And then that gives it loft. So we don't really have to help it. You have to go like this to scoop it up. That's something people need to understand, that, the loft on the club is going to help get the ball up into the air and get the job done. So people need to look at where's the pin on the green. We talk about, I got a lot of green to work with. What does that mean? That means the pin's more in this middle or back. So there's a lot of running room for more of a we call a bump and run shot. Or maybe the pin's up front. So if I use my old 7-iron and I try to just make a little tiny swing so it won't go too far, but a 7-iron is going to tend to run. A 7, 8, 9-iron is going to tend to run more. The more lofted clubs are going to fly higher. They also tend to have a little more spin because of the way the club gets under the ball. So these are some factors that people need to start to get familiar with if they're not. And then that's going to go into their club selection. I think that's all I'll say for now. I'm sure more of this is going to come out in our conversation. But something I want to talk about is something that I tell my students. And I say this, and they thank me for it. Every good shot should add up to 100. And what I mean by that is 100 is a nice round number. We go 50 back, 50 through. Yeah, 50 back, 50 through. Even better, maybe for a putt and a chip or a pitch, 48, 52. Maybe even 45, 55. That means you're going to have a little acceleration. The club's going to be going a little faster on the way through. We don't want to decel. So let's say 45, 55. Okay, just and that those need to be consistent and matched up. Okay, and what happens for a lot of people is they'll go 60, 90. It's 150 and it's out of ratio. Okay. Or they'll go 70. Oh no. And then they, subconsciously they slow down, they decelerate 70, 20. Okay. And it's like a dead shot and it's only 90. So this is what I'm saying. I asked people to evaluate what was the size of their swing, what was the proportion in the size of their swing. Okay. And that the distance that a putt or a chip, a short shot goes is relative to the size of the swing, size of the backswing and follow through. Okay. So if I go just ankles to ankles, knees to knees, hips to hips, shoulders to shoulders, okay? The bigger swing is going to give more distance. It's not about how far we hit the ball. So those are some general rules. And this idea of every good shot adds up to 100 and starting to balance out your swing, and then knowing, the club that you're using, the size of the swing, you start to be able to dial in the distance that you're hitting your short shots. So I'm
Yeah,
going to start with that.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I want to just take it just a quick step further, and then Jim, I'm going to come to you. This is why you watch, and I specifically mentioned, unlike the tour pros, many amateurs don't do what you're talking about. If you ever watch the tour pros, Tiger is probably one of the best examples I can think of in more modern times. Is he would do just that. Whenever he had a specific shot he would hit, might see me take a little shorter backswing and have maybe a little bit more follow through. He followed that sort of 100 rule, if you will. And he specifically did that because obviously in your mind, if you're doing a swing, you're not thinking, okay, I went 48, I got to do 52 now, or 45, 55, whatever. You can't constantly think about that. But if you practice that movement ahead of time, then you know kind of what it feels like. And I think a lot of pros, if you ever watch them as they get ready to go through their pre-shot routine, some of them will actually do it in the pre-shot routine when they're doing a practice, is they will actually do exactly what you're talking about, is they'll mimic the type of swing that they need for that particular shot. So that's a really great point, and that you raised there. And that, Jim, I want to come to you now as well. And Jamie kind of touched a little bit about too much loft. We see a lot of golfers out there with a 58, a 60-degree wedge, and every shot they have balloons up in the air and comes down. There's very little roll. And the other component as well is sometimes they have an excessive swing speed. So it kind of goes to a little bit of what Jamie was talking about, being more controlled in how we handle things. Talk a little bit about the swing speed as well. They tend to overpower the ball. And then also, I mean, not saying that there isn't a place, but I think if we rely too much on a super high lofted club, like a 60-degree wedge, everybody's trying to hit that lob shot. That may not always be the best for some of our amateurs as well. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. And I love what you just said there, Jamie, on that everything matches the 100. I think that's wonderful. When we look at that loft, we have to understand what it's doing for us. As Jamie described, that loft is propelling the ball into the air. Now, if I'm a player who doesn't have a lot of speed, and I take something like a 60-degree wedge, I can't advance that golf ball very far with that 60-degree wedge. And a full swing may be, for me, at a certain rate of speed that I can generate, might only produce a shot that's maybe 50 yards. Well,
Right.
Would I be better off to take something with a little bit less loft, maybe 56? And Jamie, you mentioned you had a 7-iron. When I went to tour school back in 1996, the only wedge I had in my bag was a 56-degree wedge and a pitching wedge. And so they may be better. They may benefit from having maybe a 52-degree wedge, where now they can make that golf swing at an 80% rate and be able to control the action of how they swing that golf club, which then in turn gives them the ability to apply the club more proficiently and more consistently. And the more consistent they can apply the golf club, the more they can now take what Jamie talked about and do the hundreds, the 40 to a 60 or a 50 to a 50, that sort of a thing. So application becomes very important. So we have to look at our skill set and say, I can swing it this fast. Thus, my wedge set might be that I have a 44, a 48, and a 52. And that's as much as I go. And if I need to soften the shot very close to the green, I take that 52, and now I add some loft to it when I set it down. We hear it talked about opening the club face some. And now I can make that 52 a 56 in a very short shot that needs to be soft.
Right.
So I think that not only is it the loft that is important to that player, it's also the bounce on that golf club. How is that bottom part of that golf club interacting with the soil? Do they have a very wide bounce and they're playing on very firm soil? They're going to struggle with that. Where if they have a very wide bounce and they're playing somewhere like Pebble Beach where the turf is very soft, now it fits the situation better. So the loft is very important in determining what is my makeup based on my ability and speed that I can swing the golf club. Right. I currently have a 58 in my bag, and I'm considering getting rid of that because, well, I got a few more gray hairs here, and that golf swing's slowing down a little bit. So I'm looking at
I hear
maybe
you.
going back to that, yeah, going back to that 56-degree wedge so that I can swing it at that maybe an 80% rate of speed and get my application to be better.
Yeah, that's an excellent point too. And this is why it's important, I think, every season to kind of come out and do an assessment of where you're at, because again, even in a year, I mean, obviously if you're in your 20s, 30s and that, it's a little bit different, but as we age, I mean, let's be honest, we're not going to generate as much speed as we once did. And sometimes the makeup of our golf bag needs to change. Just like for years, we all had, 3-4 irons. Some people even had a 2-iron in the bag. And then now all of a sudden we've sort of scrapped, and some people don't even have a 5-iron. They go down to a 7-iron and might have some hybrids that fill in some of those gaps because they're just not generating the speed that they once did to hit that 4-iron. So, they can get better results using, a good hybrid or something. So, yeah, you also have to look at the wedge game. I mean, it's nice to say, hey, I can hit these flop shots. But if you're carrying a 60-degree, for the number of shots that you're going to need a 60-degree wedge for, it's maybe not the best choice. And if you're not as an accomplished player, maybe going back to a 56 and even, a 52 or something along that lines might be the better route to go. So that's why you have to really work with your professional and say, let's do an assessment at the beginning of the year, see where things are at. Do I need to make some adjustments in my bag? And if that's the case, then that's the time to do it. And then you work through the process at that point. So great points as well, Jim. Thank you. All right, Jamie, we're going to come back. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about poor contact. And we got a couple of things here. Maybe you can just shed the light. Who hasn't occasionally hit some chunky shots or maybe even a few scald shots with her wedges? Give us an idea of each of them, what each of them mean when I say chunky and scald. And typically, what are some of the causes of that, of each of them? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, one of the first is the decel. We call it deceleration. And, a lot of times people will take the club back and maybe they'll take it back too far. And then they slow down on the way down. And that just really kind of destroys your contact. So that's the first thing, and the club if the club's going too slowly and it's not accelerating through the ball. And I hesitate to use that word because I don't mean go fast. I just mean relative to the swing, it needs to be going faster on the way through than on the way back. Okay. It can't slow down on the way down because then you're going to get stuck in the grass. You're going to maybe just even hit the ground. Let's say there's not a lot of grass. You just hit the ground. You got this chunky divot and the ball doesn't go anywhere. A lot of times, the old lift in your head can cause a scald shot or a shot that's going to go racing over the green. And when we talk about topping it, what does topping the ball mean? A lot of people say that, but to understand what that means, for me, it means hitting the top of the ball rather than making contact where the club's going to bottom out, in the grass right behind the ball and let the ball fly up in the air. And that happens, we hit the top of the ball when we lift ourselves up. So, yeah. And then the top of the club hits the top of the ball. Okay. Rather than the face of the club making centered contact and brushing through the grass and launching the ball. So that old topping the ball comes about from lifting. A lot of times lifting happens because we peek. Why do we peek and look? Because we're insecure. We're control freaks and we're insecure. We're like, how was it? And next thing you know, you've lifted up and then you top the ball. Right. So, that happens, and lacking that consistent backswing, follow through, back and through. So it really is in practicing to get that nice even motion and that's accelerating. I, as you know, talk a lot about being centered. This is my logo, Ki Golf, and it's a sword and a golf ball. All right. So that's my martial arts and golf together. And so centeredness is a very big thing in martial arts. And I think it's important in golf is that we sink our belly down and we into our feet. Our feet are solid on the ground and we have stability. That's the first thing. And then we need to make centered contact on the ball. Okay. Like this. Now, when we lift and sway a little bit, or if we lift and pull up on the way through, or we go down and kind of go like this and follow the ball with our body, all of that is going to destroy the contact of the ball, the
Yep.
centered contact of the ball. So the more that we're centered, we stay centered, we make a nice balanced swing, the club's going to just bottom out right where it needs to. The loft of the club is going to do its work automatically. We don't have to help it. We don't have to fear that it's not working and check, and then we wreck it anyways. So centered and practice that centeredness, that evenness. And when we say let the club do the work, that's what we mean in that regard. So I think those things are really important. I hesitate to use the S word, the SH word, shank and basically, but it tends to be when we hit the ball off closer to the hosel of the club. And rather than trying to like fix that, I just like to practice what's right. And the more I practice just solid, stable, even, all of that takes care of itself. And I start to come out with nice centered contact on the ball. There's some different ways to get spin on the ball. One is to kind of hit down on it, and it creates backspin. A lot of, unless you're a really more advanced player, I hesitate with that too much because people kind of, and then they stick on the ground. Another way is to kind of have the face open more and create more loft and kind of brush under, and that will create some spin on it as well. Again, I kind of reserve those a little bit more for, somewhat more advanced players, or at least mid-teen handicappers, because I think the most thing for most players, they just need to get a nice balanced swing and get confident in making that contact, keep their head down, let the ball fly up, and then look up. I always joke that I think it was Mark Twain, did he golf? Who knows? But Mark Twain said, I never looked up to see a shot I liked. Yeah, never
Right.
looked up to see a shot I liked, right?
That's
So
true.
you got to be looking down as the club's making contact, the ball's going, and then you look up, you like the shot. But if you're looking up, well, you're going to kind of destroy that centered contact of the arc of the swing.
Yeah, those are some
Those
great,
are some thoughts.
yeah, those are some great points, because you're so right. We run into the habit. You see it a lot on the putting surface. People, trying to sneak a peek at how the putts come out before they've even barely struck the putt. Again, the club is there. It's designed. It's made a certain way. Each club is different for a certain purpose, a certain loft, and it's designed to do different things. And yeah, you can manipulate. For more advanced players, there are things you could do to manipulate to help get more spin or get more height and things, as Jim also pointed out. But at the end of the day, for our high handicappers, I'm just happy if they can make good solid contact. They don't need to be, as they get more advanced, then you can get into some more challenging things. But let's just get them, stop hitting those chunky and those scald shots, as you pointed out, and let's get into just making good solid contact. Jim, just to continue on with the poor contact for just a quick second, another issue that does that is lack of body rotation. I know Jimmy touched a little bit about that. And then also which involves their tempo. We see a lot of jabby, sort of pokey tempo, quick and jerky tempo, and especially on our chips and pitches, and that leads to poor contact. I think those are a couple of areas that we can touch with too. I think one of the things, particularly with the body rotation, is people seem to just move their arms. They don't realize that the upper body has to be engaged, the chest and the shoulders as well. So maybe you could touch a little bit about that, and how do we, what are some things maybe that we can do to get our tempo going a little bit more smoothly than sort of just poking at the golf ball?
Yeah, and when you come to tempo, and the way I look at that is, tempo is a result of the proper sequence of events. Mm-hmm. And then we need to understand what the sequence of events are. And as one of my mentors has described, Jim Hardy, talks about there's two motors to the golf swing. And the ball tells us what we need to do. One being the ball's to the side of us, and that brings into account the idea of the body rotating. And so there has to be a body rotation like this, creating a circle that goes around us. Now, the other piece to that is that the arms have to go up and down, and that would be the second motor. Since the ball's on the ground, the golf club has to go up and down, and that's created by the arms. So it's much like doing this. The arms swing up and down, and the body goes like this. And so what we need to do is understand, how do they work together? And this doesn't matter whether this is a full swing, whether it's a bunker shot, whether it's a pitch shot, whether it's a small chip shot. The body has to provide sufficient room for the arms to move up and down. And what I mean by that is if I turned this way and we were hitting a wedge, a small intermediate wedge shot, and let's go with what Jamie described, a 50-50. That's going to have a little bit of body rotation and the arms are going to swing up about, say, waist high. And then on the through swing, the body's going to rotate this way and the arms are going to swing up about waist high on the through swing. Now, when we get out of sync of that is when we get that jabby type of a golf swing, where this has gotten in the way. It hasn't made the room here. So the arms didn't have a place to go. Now they try to do their job, but they don't have a place to do it in. And so it becomes sort of a jerky motion and that sort of a thing. And so we have to put those ideas together. And so the sequence of events is this. The body makes the room in the backswing. Now I have a place for the arms to swing up. As they're swinging down, I'll turn this way, I have to begin to make the room over here. And so we get into trouble when maybe we don't make the room in the backswing or we don't make the room in the through swing. And that does this. And much like Jamie was just saying, when we lift up, we've lifted up because the body hasn't made room over here. So we do something like this where our body is kind of tilting in that way. Club bottoms out behind it. It's going up over the top of the ball, or it doesn't bottom out at all because we have backed out of it so much that we never meet the ground. And so there the body's trying to make the up and down while the arms are trying to make the around. We've got it mixed up. Right. And so we have to make that room. So if we think about the focus of the golf swing, I make the room here, the arms go up. And again, it doesn't matter whether this is a full swing or a partial swing. The arms start working down as the body's moving this way to look at the target. Mm-hmm. And so when that sequence is correct, the golf swing looks fluid and you hear they say, oh, you make it look so easy. The golf professionals make it look so easy. Well, they're working very, very hard in those actions. They just happen to have the sequence of events happening in the right sequence. Many players who struggle with that contact have either the arms doing the around or the body doing the up and down, or the body has stayed in the way and not provided the room for the arms to do the up and down.
Yeah, that's a great way to explain that, because you're right, and we often talk about this being out of sequence. You know, something else that you see a lot of players do, a lot of our amateur players do, is they will try to compensate by increasing a big lateral shift. In other words, if they don't go back, if they're not making the correct turn, as you're suggesting, and the arms are not able to get up, they have to find some way to compensate. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll thrust their hips forward in order to get the body to open up again. And the next thing you know, they've moved laterally so much that the ball position changes. It could be changing 2-3 inches either way, depending on, or they end up falling back again because they haven't cleared the body or cleared things correctly. So you're exactly right. And it's very interesting that you raise that point, because that's something I see a lot watching people up and down the range. So some great points. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I add something to that? Yeah, I thoroughly agree. The sequence of events, and sequence gives tempo and timing and all, and that's crucial. One of the things that I think is important is the setup of our feet in our short shots, and compared to longer shots. Longer shots, your feet are here. Maybe I like them to have just a little bit open so we can open our hips and turn. And then we, in a full swing, you get to that hip out of the way, or if you're a lefty, you get your right hip out of the way. Then the club can come through and you finish up. As Jim was saying, you got to kind of get your body out of the way. In a short shot, we're not looking for maximum distance. We're looking for optimum distance. And it tends to be a relatively short distance, 100 yards in, could be 50, 30, 20 yards. So we're not trying to make a power shot here. And so I like to tell people to start with their feet like this. If you're a righty, turn them this way. Lefty, turn them that way. What does that do? It does a couple things. It already clears your hip. Okay, so you don't have to clear your hips. So you've already made that room. Also, if I'm, this way and I'm trying to shoot my ball that way to the target, I've already got that flow. I've set that flow up. So my feet are kind of in the direction of the target and they're kind of parallel. I believe that Dave Pells teaches if the ball's right in the middle here, in the middle of this is my feet and the ball's here. Okay. You set up and then turn your feet this way. Just shift your center forward, your weight a little bit forward, a little bit on your left foot. But he teaches here, turn the feet this way. If you're lefty, turn the feet that way. Depends which way we're looking here in the camera, but
Sure.
But the idea is that if you set up with your feet in the direction of the green, of the target, of the pin, you've already cleared your hip out of the way. You've made room in your body, as Jim was talking about, for the club to come through. And your swing is flowing right down the target line to the pin, basically to your target.
Yeah, great point. And actually, that was going to be my next thing was the setup and the alignment, but you already covered that. So
there you go.
We don't need to go over that. Jim. Yeah, thank you. You guys actually double teamed on that one, and actually, Jim, you led her perfectly into doing that. We can actually.
Thanks, Jim.
No, you're right. I mean, proper ball position, and the other thing I'm just going to point out real quick, and is a lot of players get in the habit with their wedges, particularly of standing too far away. They think it's like they playing their longer clubs and they tend to be too far away, and not moving that, shifting that weight a little bit onto the lead foot. Again, left foot for right-handed golfers, right for left-handed golfers. Not getting that weight distribution, and obviously poor alignment. So, I like what you described there, Jamie, is about turning the feet. Depending on which way you golf, and sort of presetting yourself up for success. That's, a lot of times people don't set up correctly, and they ultimately, just as I was pointing out a moment ago, is try to compensate with their golf swing. They're not set up properly. They're not making the correct turn. So now they have to find a way. Okay, well, I went this way. I didn't get things correct in the backswing. How am I going to get back over here and through the ball? Oh, I got to do this. And they start, falling back, or they start, leaning too far this way, or whatever happens, or they're standing up. And so a myriad of things. So it goes to really, and that's why Nicklaus talked about the fundamentals so much, very much in his career, is that he always wanted to work on those things, getting himself set up correctly each and every time so that he was setting up for success. That doesn't mean he didn't hit a bad shot occasionally, but more often than not, if he sets up correctly from the get-go, he has a greater chance of success of hitting a good golf shot. And that's really what he wanted to do. So I'm going to come back. Go ahead real quick.
Oh, just one real quick thing, so here we are in this, we got our here, and then we shift our weight to our forward foot, as we said. When that happens, your hands shift a little bit forward, but they stay connected to your center. I see so many people, they're told, put your weight on your forward foot, and then they're like this. They got their club like this. It's just crazy. Their hands are way out here, and it's just crazy, and they're supposed to go like this. It's just a little shift forward, but keep connected there. Don't shift your hands so that they're all like this. That happens a lot. I think people misunderstand when their pro says, put your hands a little forward to the ball, so you'll have this downward blow and all that stuff. And they just they misalign their grip with their body, and they wreck that they kind of destroy the successful setup.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think what a lot of it boils down to is, I think, a misunderstanding. When we look at sort of how things were taught years ago, I think people misunderstood some of the terminology, when they said about keeping your head steady, and that, it wasn't that you were to lock yourself in place. It was just, you didn't want to be moving all over the place. And obviously, and up and down, that sort of thing. So, people had to understand, and there was a way of describing things, but people, as they start to learn more about biomechanics and how the body actually works, and the different bodies that are out there, and how things can differ for each player, I think, instructors have a much better understanding than maybe what they did 30 years ago. So there's a lot of factors involved. Jim, I'm going to come back to you as we get close to our time here shortly. And that is really club and some of the equipment areas. One of them is, and this is one, God love them, but I see a lot of people out there not only playing with some dirty grooves, but some worn out grooves. They have wedges that they've had since Ben Hogan days, and they just love that, that old wedge. It's done them good, but they can't hit it worth beans because it's past its prime. So, there comes a point in time. Let's walk them through what's the process. What's the rule of thumb, for lack of better words? When's it time to hang up that wedge and put it in the archives, and let's dial in on some new ones. Give us thoughts on that. And dirty grooves as well. That's another one. You see clumps of dirt that caked on from 5 rounds ago, and they just don't clean them. So give us some tips. What should we do to keep our clubs in good shape, or get rid of them?
I think you make a great point there of just the simple fact of keeping the golf club clean. The grooves are there for a reason. The grooves are there to assist in adding friction. And friction, as Jamie was talking about speed or spin, friction is something that assists in creating spin. Now, what is a rule of thumb of when we should change these golf clubs? That's certainly different for all walks of life. Right. Example, I know Zach Johnson, he changes his wedges every 3 events. Now, we in the general public, that doesn't fit for us.
Yeah, good luck.
But when you start to see the shape of the groove start to change, that would be my signal. It's time to make a change. And so what I mean by that is, as you're hitting shots, and I spent a lot of time in Florida, and now I'm in North Texas, and we have very sandy soil in Bermuda grass fairways and that sort. And that sand gets in there, and it's friction in and of itself, and it starts to wear those grooves down. And if they start to change the edges of the groove, so if I try to make it look like the grooves here, and they start to do this, you're going to start to lose the effectiveness of that groove. It's going to accept more grass, but it's going to also reduce the amount of spin. Certainly going back to when square grooves came out, and Karsten Solheim came out with the square grooves, and then they were so sharp and did such a great job, except they spun the cover off the golf ball.
Right, I remember that.
And it turned into a problem, because when they went to bevel those grooves a little bit to make them more playable and endure the golf ball longer, that's when they became non-conforming to the USGA rule. The distance, right. There's a distance between the grooves and the distance the groove is, and that has to be a certain ratio. And I don't know the math on all that, but it has to be within their tolerances. Yep. And so the change of the wedges, when you start to see that groove start to change shape, when you start to see them discolor, those are all going to give different performance levels to that golf club. And so that's when I would start to look at changing them. So the frequency, I do it about once a year personally. Mm-hmm. I mentioned Zach Johnson's every 3 events. It goes along with what you play. Yeah. If you're out there playing, 50 rounds of golf a year, once a week, maybe once a year is a good choice. Mm-hmm. If you're out there playing 10 rounds of golf a year, maybe every 2 or 3 years could be the case. So it kind of goes to that player, but I think that key is, when do they start discoloring, and when does that groove size start to change?
Yeah, and I think it goes to the point I made earlier is, and as you just pointed out now, is obviously the amount that you play. But I think it's also important at the beginning of each season, or certainly at the end of the season, to have a conversation with your professional that you're working with, and saying, okay, let's take a look. I'm playing a lot more golf now. Let's look at the equipment. Let's do an equipment check. Make sure not only are the grooves and so forth correct, but let's make sure I'm using the right clubs. Are these clubs going to give me the best benefit out there based on my game? And that's the thing is, and I don't fault him for this, but I remember years ago, and I talked about this on a show not too long ago, and God love him, I always was a big fan of Tom Kite. And Tom Kite was one of the first players I remember really talking about having a lot of extra wedges. I think he had 4 wedges in his bag. Mm-hmm. And, everybody all of a sudden ran out and said, I got to have 4 wedges. But the point was that, it may not be, that was what worked for him. Mm-hmm. And it may not work. You may only need 2 wedges. You may only need 1 wedge. I mean, it really depends on your game. I mean, this is a tour professional. And so this is something that you have to be able to really have that conversation with your golf professional early on the year. And, if you're not doing that and you're just sort of, going out there and just sort of mulling through each season. And like you said, at the end of the year, you've got these wedges that are just, beat to, what, you're not going to play your best golf. So it's important to do that. But I wanted to just talk about a few of the things here on tonight's panel discussion, because I think this is an area that really gets overlooked, because we really know the importance of the short game. And there's just a lot of folks out there that just don't really pay attention to some of the points. And I know there's a ton of other things that we could get into, but we'll save that for another conversation. But we got to wrap it up. My time's getting close here. So I want to thank both of you for joining me tonight on Coach's Corner here on Golf Talk Live. And as always, I give each of you a quick moment to let the folks know the best way they can reach out. And if there's any quickly that you'd like to plug, go ahead. And Jamie, ladies first, I'll let you go.
I always fan the team men first, People can reach me at through my website, which is thecenteredway.com, centeredway.com, and or Jamie, Jamie at thecenteredway.com. Email me, look for me on LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram, Jamie Leno Zimron, Leno, and give me a call or send me a text, which is 760-492-GOLF 4653. I just want to say one quick thing. I always talk about the principle of micro to macrocosm. So for me, short game and the short shot swing is sort of the microcosm, and it's the core of the golf swing, and it leads to the macrocosmic big swing. Most people want to hit their driver, and they go, I'm slicing my driver. I go, great, take out your wedge. I mean, if we can really just groove in that core, the microcosmic swing, you're going to get a good short game, and you're set up for a big, longer game. So really, everybody, take your time practicing short shots.
Well said. And Jim, finally, how can the folks reach out to you, and anything quickly if you want to plug?
Yeah, and thank you again, Ted, for having me on the show. And Jamie, it's been great to have you and be part of the show with you as well. I can be reached on my phone at 407-460-9420. And you could also reach me at jendicott@pgahq.com. And I love to help anybody with their game, especially if you're in North Texas, or I travel to Orlando, Florida once a month.
I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and when I come back, I'll be joined by this evening's travel guest. Welcome back, everybody, and it's time once again for our travel segment. Let me introduce both our co-host and travel expert, and then our very special travel guest of the evening. First up, of course, is Robert Kaufman. He is our travel expert and co-host. He's an award-winning photographer and golf and travel writer, golf media consultant, and he's worked with a number of great publications such as Troon Golf and Travel Magazine, PGA Magazine, and, of course, Golf Tips Magazine, along with a host of others. And if you want to see more of his great work, you can visit his website, pictureperfect.com. Tonight's special featured travel guest is Steve Cowan. He is the executive director of golf at Wynn Golf Club in Las Vegas. And as I mentioned, he is the executive director, and a role he has held since April of 2021. He has served in similar capacities as the director of golf at Dragon Ridge Country Club and as head professional at the Southern Highlands Golf Club, where both clubs earned accolades from various magazines and organizations, including Top 100 Golf Clubs, Top 100 Golf Shops, and Facility of the Year, and many other accolades as well. So let me welcome both Robert and Steve to the show. Guys, welcome.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Thank you. Okay, if I call you Scott instead of Steve?
Please, yes, yeah. Didn't know what the proper way to do that. Yes,
I'm
Scott.
sorry.
Yes,
Why?
that's
Okay, I'm
okay.
sorry. My apologies. I don't know why I had Steve written down. I apologize.
Fred, it's
Yeah,
fine. It's
Something
not a
wrong.
problem.
Okay, so I'm going to go in
So,
there
no
and do
worries.
that.
We're all friends here.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
can
Well, thank
start
you for
over.
having me on.
I can start over again and do the whole thing if you
Yeah.
want.
Well, yeah,
All
I
right.
want to hear my intro again. I love hearing that every time I
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
Forget it. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. My apologies, Scott.
It's
So
okay.
here's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to turn it over to Robert. Robert's going to take over. He's got some questions. I'm
Okay.
going to hang around and listen to the conversation, and then I will jump in towards the end as we get ready to wrap up. So, Robert, take it away. You and Scott have a
Wonderful.
good time.
Thank you. Thanks,
Awesome.
Ted.
Well, Scott, thanks for coming on, taking the time out of your
Of course.
busy schedule, messy office, whatever you got going on down there. So, yeah, it's great.
Well,
I know
thanks
we don't
for
have a
so much for
lot,
having me
lot of
on.
time. I'm sorry?
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so let's just dive right in. We don't have a lot of time, but,
Hmm.
I know there's a lot to cover. Um, so you've been there over 25 years in the Vegas area, correct?
I have. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're really the ideal person to really talk to about the changes in the local golf scene during
Hmm.
your time there, because no
Sure.
doubt you've witnessed tremendous growth
We
and changes over the years. So I
we
just want
have.
to get a feel for some of your early memories and what the golf culture is like today.
Well, the golf culture is certainly very strong still in Las Vegas. We have unfortunately lost a few golf courses due to the population growth here and business opportunities that presented themselves, for housing and those sorts of things. But the core of the golf courses are still strong. We have about 30 golf courses that have public access here within the city, and many more in Mesquite and St. George area, and Laughlin and surrounding areas. So I would say for the average golfer coming into town that you probably have a selection of about 50 golf courses to choose from. Some of them, like ourselves, are right down on the strip. Well, we're the only one down on the strip, and others in the surrounding areas, as you can imagine, mostly around our communities that have been built here. So,
Yeah.
um,
I wanted to ask you. You touched on being on the strip. I wanted to
mhm,
ask you about that unique location.
sure.
Can you explain how the golf course has sustained itself with all the demolishing of casinos and hotels and
Mhm.
all the
Yeah,
development that has gone
sure.
on in recent years?
I think honestly, it speaks to the fact, or to the reason that it's a very, very special piece of ground. There's been a golf course on this property since 1952. It was originally the Desert Inn,
Right.
and then
Right.
became Wynn Golf Club, and then we closed and we became Wynn Golf Club, as we refer to it internally as Wynn 2.0. But we have a very new golf course. It's a Fazio design. It's 6 years old, but we have 80-year-old trees on the property. So from that standpoint, it's very, very unique. And it has sustained itself because I think we've made it a priority here, certainly at Wynn. I know that Mr. Dalitz made it a priority, when they owned the Desert Inn. And it was very much a part of the culture of Las Vegas and always has been. A day doesn't go by where people don't tell me stories about the Desert Inn. In fact, today, I'm not going to get up and shift my point of view, but today I actually met with a guest who brought me a
That's fun.
pith helmet from the 1964 Tournament of Champions that's signed by Nicholas and one of my heroes, George Knudson, and Gary Player and Sam
Wow.
Snead and all those. So it's the people love this property, and I think that that's contributed greatly to our success here.
Yeah. Can you share any other old time stories? I mean, you had the likes of Dean Martin, Sinatra, and
Hmm.
those guys, making
Yeah.
it to the playground while they were down there in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were the playground for a lot of celebrities of the 1950s and 60s that we all love and dearly. We're currently building a new clubhouse, but previously in our old golf space, we had all these old pictures of two of my favorites of Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. putting with the likes of an Arnold Palmer, and so yeah, it's part of the lore that's here. And we were again the host of the Tournament of Champions from. Goodness, I don't even know the years to be honest with you. I think the last year was 1968, maybe or 64, somewhere in that time.
Okay.
And so, this was a happening spot for golf. It was a central point of interest for golfers and celebrities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Hmm.
mean, I played a fair number of the courses down that way.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I haven't played the Wynn.
Hmm.
But viewing it online and just seeing all the streams and the trees and the greenery and
Hmm.
the water structure on number 18. I mean, I'm just imagining if I were there, I wouldn't feel like I'm in Las Vegas. But then you lift your head and look around and see the skylines of the hotels and the big
Yeah,
giant ball known as the Sphere.
Yeah, Robert, that's it exactly. I think the previous iteration of Wynn Golf Club, it was a much more, from a design standpoint, from what I understand, and I truthfully I didn't see it. From what I understand, it was much more saddled fairways. Trees were, bringing the trees up, so it blocked a lot of the views that we have now. Now we've decided in Wynn point two, is that we're embracing the city, and our 15th hole, for example is a fairly simple straightaway par four, drivable for the young guys. And it wasn't a memorable hole, which is now probably one of our more memorable holes because 200 feet, literally like 200 to 300 feet away, is the Sphere right across the street. So,
Yeah.
especially when you're playing at dusk, and the Sphere can light up the 15th fairway for you. Well, it lights up a lot of the golf course, but 15th in particular, it just gives you a really, really unique experience that you can't get anywhere else. You can't build it like this. So, we have a wonderful view of the Strip. Wonderful views of our hotel as well, and our new clubhouse it's called the Cliff House, Desert Inn Cliff House, is going to highlight all of these spaces, wonderful spaces and views that we have.
Mhm. Yeah. So when Fazio and I believe his son too, Logan, if I
Yes,
read
yes.
correctly,
Hmm.
came in and redid the course, what, about 7, 8 years ago? Is that correct? 9 years?
2019, we reopened. Yeah,
19. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So
2019.
I mean, they had to take the 18 holes, and again, working with a very small piece of property. I
Hmm.
mean, what did they do to maneuver some of the holes? Did they renovate? Did they make new holes, or
Hmm.
how did they structure that?
So we have a very typical Fazio design from the standpoint that it is intimate everywhere. And he is a master of making you feel like you're in a large space or an intimate space without, those things being naturally available. We lost 28 acres to our new South Convention space, which necessitated the redesign. We were able to keep eight similar holes and or similar corridors, and 10 new holes is basically what ended up happening, a renumbering of the golf course. Number 18, for example, used to be a very difficult par four. It is now an incredibly challenging par three, 250 yards from the back. We
Wow.
have six par threes on the golf course, and I can assure
Hmm.
you, for a man in his 50s, I can't tip it out at 6,700 yards. It's all the golf course that I want. I'm playing at 6,400 yards, and it's just fine for me and for
Sure.
most of our guests at that standpoint. It's playful. It's a typical resort golf course. It's not going to beat you up, but as a golf professional or a scratch golfer, you're not going to you're not going to shoot 63 out here either. The greens
Right.
are challenging, but they're fair. There's lots of wide fairways and bailout areas, but it's going to leave you a tricky second or third shot. So it's really, really well thought out. Um, from all reports, the guests that have come back to us, having played Win 1.0 to our new one, they like the design better. We took out a lot of the flora on the sides of the golf course. We had some heavy wildflower areas. Those have all been eliminated, and we now play out of bark. It's made the round much more enjoyable because you can find and play your ball.
Yeah.
A round of golf here is 4 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, you are
Right.
from your hotel room to the first tee in 10 minutes and back in your hotel room within 4.5 hours. It's wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
That's
it's
Yeah.
great. It's what golf should be, and it's like
Oh
I said,
yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
it's 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 fun. The players enjoy it. You know, they may have their best round out here because it's so much fun, and it is a decent challenge for us. We're not. It's not an easy golf course, but it's not the most difficult one you'll ever play either. It's quite fun.
No, and that's exactly what you want in a resort course, as
Hmm.
you alluded to. I mean,
Yeah.
you go to so many of these, and they just eat you up, and it's like
Hmm.
you never want to come back again. It's just not fun. What's the
Exactly.
point? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, we're all about experience here,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things. I mean, for our guests, which is the luxury guests, time is their currency, right? So we don't want somebody to be out on our golf course for 5.5 hours. We don't allow shotguns or buyouts that are more than 88 players because it affects our brand, the way that people view their experience at Wynn Golf Club. So it's very, very important the time aspect for us. And we have a caddy with each group that's a Wynn Golf Club employee that assists with getting people, moving through the golf course. One other
Okay.
thing that we do is we do 20-minute tee times here. So the
Okay.
guest feels as though they own the golf course for the day. They don't feel like they're being pushed. They don't feel like they're playing into a group in front of them, and they finish in good stead. So it's worked out really, really well from us from that standpoint. But it's been purposeful. We've thought about these things because it's important to our guests.
Right. So if we take the Wynn Golf Club out of the picture, I mean,
Hmm.
what would you rank as maybe the top 3 or 4 courses in the Vegas area that one should really put on their must play list?
There are some really stunning golf courses here. The
And I
golf
don't want
course
to
that I
pigeonhole you.
No, no, not at all. There's some stunning golf courses. Listen, we're Wynn Golf Club is about a golf experience. Our
Right.
goal is to become the best golf experience in the world. We're working towards that. We are not the best golf course in the world. We're maybe the best conditioned golf course, certainly up there for sure. But Shadow Creek is a wonderful golf course, a real test of golf. And it is, but it's a 45-minute trip out to the golf course. It's a full day thing, but a wonderful, wonderful golf course. Deserves all the accolades that it gets. One of my favorites and dear to my heart is Southern Highlands. I came out to Las Vegas to help open up that property in the early 2000s, and it's a wonderful Robert Trent Jones Sr. and Junior design. Again, if you don't bring your best game, you can get around the golf course, and if you do, it's a really, really fun round of golf for you. It's a high-end private golf course there. Shadow is certainly accessible through the MGM group. Um, yeah, some of my other favorites, the Lake Las Vegas area is really underrated. South Shore Golf Club is a private club
Hmm.
that I was also associated with for a little while, with a golf management
Okay.
company. Great test of golf, one of the best views in Las Vegas for sure. And I have not played it, but Reflection Bay has reopened under new ownership, and it is equally stunning in terms of the views out there and a fun round of golf from what I recall.
Yeah, that's actually one that I have been out to. I think
Uh,
it was just pre-COVID. I
okay.
was out there. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's gorgeous.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So those are some of the ones that stand out in terms of quality. Um, and the Paiute golf courses north of the city are always in great shape. And we're about to go into overseeding season here in Las Vegas. They always have one of their three golf courses open during this time, so that's certainly helpful. If you like the history of the game, Las Vegas National, just down the street here from us on Desert Inn, I mean, there's so much history there as well, and they've done a great job. Again, I haven't been there in years, truthfully. I work in the golf business, so I don't play a lot of golf. So I haven't been there in a while, but from what I
We hear
remember,
you.
they've got plaques and memorabilia everywhere. It's the home of the Las Vegas Hall of Fame. And so that's a fun golf course to play. And then lastly, a private golf course that has some public accessible times is Las Vegas Country Club, another heavily treed, old school golf course that has a lot of history tied to it. So those are all fun. We have fun golf here in Vegas.
No, you do. I mean, the ones I played, you got pretty good variety, and they're all good to play. They're all different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, kind of in summing up, what do you want people to, they come to the Wynn Golf Club or the
Mhm.
Wynn Hotel. What do you want them to walk away with?
um, Indelible memories. I want them to remember the indelible memories that they created with other people on the golf course, whether it was the people that they brought or the caddies that guided them through through the round.
Yeah,
I can, we'll guarantee them fantastic conditions. We reinvest in our golf course. We have two fantastic superintendents here that are not classically trained, but have been on the property for over 20 years, know the soil, know the grass, and our conditions have never been better, even in the summer. I mean, we have 110 golfers tomorrow, which is an
wow,
extraordinary day for us. We have just kept going, here through the summer because our conditions are really great. So you're going to get conditions, you're going to get service, without a doubt, inside the hotel and out, and then also convenience. There's no other place in the entire city where you can, again, be from your hotel room to the first tee in 10 minutes,
yeah,
where your spouse or partner can go and keep themselves busy while you're playing. And so that is, again, for our customer, our luxury customer, that's a really vital part.
yeah,
Um, Being from the high-end private background, we try to teach, or we try to take care of our guests as if they are members. We
hmm,
try to create relationships with these folks, and we want them to come back because they're our most important guest.
yeah, absolutely. Good. Well, I can't wait to get there one day. So,
Yeah, hopefully we'd love to see you.
yeah, thank you. Ted, you got anything you want to throw in there?
Well, first off, let me apologize again. It's Scott Cowan.
Yes, that's
So
okay. That's okay.
that
We're back to that.
I've been called worse. So I've been Todd and Tim and whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I just figured that's
Yeah,
no
we're
pun
No
way
intended,
past
problem.
that, Ted.
par for the course.
I
You
give
know,
you credit though because you asked how to pronounce my last name, so I know that you
I
were
know.
focused on that,
So,
and I appreciate it very much.
yeah, I just wrote it down wrong in my notes, but I
All
apologize
good.
again. Well, Scott, let me tell you, I've been to Vegas. I didn't go this year. Normally, I would go in the midsummer. I've been probably
Mhm.
the last decade. I think I left a few dollars in the Wynn Casino, so I'll have to come
Thank you.
back and get some of that.
Mhm.
But beautiful property. I've never played the golf course. Definitely would love an invite to come out and enjoy that facility and
Absolutely.
and play some great golf. But what I wanted to ask you is when is the best time? Obviously, summer. It's quite warm in Las Vegas,
Mhm.
understandably.
Yeah.
What is sort of your peak season, if you will? What's the best times of the year? Obviously, I would imagine spring and fall. But what
Yeah.
typically is kind of the best times if somebody wanted to make a trip?
Well, again, kind of depends from a golf standpoint, purely a golf standpoint. You nailed it. It's, we've got two in seasons, two shoulder seasons, et cetera, et cetera. And then our off season is essentially the summer, but we haven't slowed down at all.
Right.
Interestingly. Um, Great thing about a trip to Vegas is there's lots of things to do.
Yeah.
And again, I know that I can only speak for my company, but we are very purposeful in making sure that the guest has, live entertainment, that they have nightclubs, that they have great dining, that they have great spas, et cetera. Like there's something for everyone here. It's a safe space. Uh, it's comfortable here. I don't know how else to describe it. You walk into Wynn and you're wowed by the beauty of the building, by the kindness of the people that are in the building. I've never worked with a better. I've worked with some great people, but as a whole, never worked with such a competent staff that have hospitality in their heart. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful here. So, short answer is fall and spring. But to layer onto that, there's so much more that goes into your
Oh
decision of
yeah,
when you're going to come.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And
Do you have misters on your golf cart?
I'm sorry, sir.
Do you have misters on the golf carts?
We don't
Misters?
have misters. No, we
Okay.
don't have misters on the golf cart. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
that's
built-in speakers
those
on the
sisters are
golf
for
course.
wimps.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
I've been out there in the heat of July, so I know how
Yeah.
it's hot in Hades out there. But
Yeah.
all
Hmm.
kidding aside, it's definitely a great place, and I concur. I mean, I have
Yeah.
not played the golf course yet. I'm looking forward to, as I said, hopefully an invite maybe here in 2026 to come out in the spring or something. But I can attest to the Wynn Resort, the hotel, and the fine dining, and that it is breathtaking walking into the lobby and through the whole property. It's just a beautiful property, so it's definitely worthwhile. And you're right there at I think the better end of the strip, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of you're close walking to everything. So lots of things to do, and if you're happen to be a golfer, you've got everything right there at your fingertips, and obviously great staff to help you along. But what's the website if people want to get more information? Scott, where can they go to do that? What's the website?
WynnLasVegas.com. All the information is there. We have wonderful concierge staff as well that you can call at 702-770-7000. They'll take great care of you and direct you in the place that you need to go. We hope we have an opportunity to host you here.
Well, I'd love to.
Thanks so much, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Scott. Thank you very much. We're going to take another commercial break, and when I come back, I'll be joined by this evening's featured guest. We'll be right back.
Improve your putting with the Alignment Ball Marker, a revolutionary new in-game putting alignment tool and ball marker. Its patented design allows you to read your putt and adjust your alignment at the same time by using your putter, which improves your accuracy and makes the process of putting faster. 100% legal according to the USGA, by their definition, permitted under the rules of golf. Winner of Best New Product at the PGA Show and only $9.99 on Amazon. And it's also completely customizable for any golf event or as a promotional giveaway. Order at alignmentballmark.com.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. And as I said, it's time to bring on this evening's featured guest. I'm very excited to have her back on the show. And it's actually under our new format. So I get to see her this time as opposed to just hearing her on the audio, if you will. So I get to actually have a face-to-face, so to speak, here on the broadcast. So of course, I'm talking about Nancy Robitaille. She is the chief designer and also lead brand strategist for Swing Control. And she's a very fashion-forward golf and lifestyle apparel. Swing Control is a company and has expanded the scope of veteran designer. And as I mentioned, Nancy, role to include brand manager now. In this new dual capacity, she will continue to lead the creative direction while taking on broader responsibility for the brand's strategic growth and development. And since joining the company in 2023 as a lead designer, she has infused Swing Control collections with her signature blend of polish, performance, and modern femininity, which I just love to death. So please welcome back to the show, Nancy Robitaille. Nancy, thank you for joining me tonight.
Ted, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. And I think the best way to sort of start things off is maybe if you could give us just a brief overview of Swing Control as a company, just so that we have for those that maybe didn't hear the first few times that you've been on the show, maybe you could just talk a little bit about Swing Control, who they are, how they got started, where they're located, and just sort of bring us up to where we are today, and then we'll get into some more specifics.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Swing Control, actually, we're based in Montreal, Canada. It was started about 2009, and we started as a women's bottoms company. We did amazing job with that. We were producing in Canada, so all the product was coming out of Canada. And about 2016, they decided to kind of expand into the golf market. It was a really good time to make that move, and they continued with the pants. And they created these pants that were pull-on pants, like slip-on pants, but we have like a tummy control that is built in. So they're incredibly comfortable. They're very easy to wear all day. And then as we grew with the pant collection, we decided to add tops and grow with that. So when I came on in 2023, my objective was really just to kind of grow the golf market and to bring us into a more golf-centric atmosphere, creating collections that women want to wear all day, that we can wear at the office, go play golf, go out for drinks after, or go have dinner with the family. Things that are very easy to wear all day and that stay crisp and clean. Also, the idea was to bring in more fabrics that were functional. So moisture wicking fabrics that were easy to wash and dry, that kept their shape, that were, SPF 50. So they covered you when you're outside in the sun all day. So all of those things I'm trying to bring into the forefront, while still creating a really cohesive, fun and beautiful collection.
It's interesting because, when I look back at where golf fashion was, even 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, everything was pretty much 100% cotton or some cotton blend. And as you sort of alluded to, that there's so many different materials now that are coming in, moisture wick and so forth. And I'm obviously certainly no expert on it, but, there's just so many other things, the flexibility. When I remember years ago buying, golf shirts as a man, one of the big things was keeping the collars looking nice. When you had to wash it, again, being 100% cotton, everything would shrink all the time. So it would never stay and it would get all, and, men are obviously not as fitness or as fashion conscious as women are, but, we like to look good out in the golf course too, when your stuff is all skewed. And when I look at the technology, and it is really technology that is coming into the fashion business now, it just blows me away at just how great the wearability is and so forth. So I want to ask you something, because this always just amazes me. So you guys have really grown over the years. You mentioned 2009, I think I heard you correct,
Yes.
is when things sort of got started up in Montreal. Beautiful city, by the way. For the listeners out there, if you've never been, you need to hop your behinds up there because it's a beautiful city. But you guys have grown rapidly over the years. How do you manage to stay on top of the current trends? I mean, everything changes so fast in every industry, but particularly in your industry. How do you guys manage to stay on top of things?
So it's a lot of research.
Yeah.
It's a lot of research, just like anything else. It's the glamour aspect is about 1% of it, and the fun of it is about 99% of the research is really fun. So what I do is I really pay attention to what's happening overseas. Europe, Asia is another. What's coming out of Asia, especially as far as fabrics are concerned. What's happening, say in Germany, Switzerland, Israel has incredible fabrics. So all of those things are in my day-to-day life. Like, I'm always conscious of what's happening. I read a lot of newspapers. I'm very up on current events, because I have to know if we're developing the product, say in Vietnam or China, what our tariffs are, how long is it going to take to get here? Are we going to have issues with, bringing the product in from the factory? How long is it going to take? Is there going to be a delay somewhere along the lines? So all of those things I have to be aware of, and have to let the team know, let's be conscious of this. And we're all very conscious of it. As far as the fabrics are concerned, the most important thing is comfort and the hand feel of them. If they don't feel good, I really won't put it into the collection. And most importantly, we added for 2025, we added what we call the air spun pant, which is, it's a really high end take on, say, a sweat pant, but it's just very clean, very stylish. And again, with the tummy control, because all of our pants still have the tummy control in it. And whether you're a size 0 or you're a size 16, it's really comfortable, and it's something that's easy to wear and to get used to. I wear a lot of our pants in the office along with our tops, but the pants too, and I combine them with button ups and things like that. So the combination and the comfort really works for me. It has to work for me to put it into the collection, it has to be comfortable. I literally try on every sample that we have that comes through the door. I make sure that it fits properly. I make sure that it's comfortable. I make sure that the length is correct. So I'm very, very hands-on. And I think that makes all of the difference, because I can immediately tell the team if there's a problem or if we need to adjust, and we can adjust on the fly. So as far as, say, like when the way collars fall, especially for women, because our collars we can have collars, or we can have like almost an open neck with just a very short band collar. We have to make sure that it doesn't fall too low if you bend over and pick up the ball. If our dresses are too short, they're not comfortable. And we also have the little shorts that go underneath with the pockets. So all of those things are very, very important to keep, to kind of keep in the back of my mind. And I just am constantly watching what people are wearing. Montreal is a very fashion forward city. I could just walk outside our building and see the most amazing streetwear you've ever seen. So all of that kind of goes into the day-to-day process of how we design the collection.
And it's interesting because it kind of brings me to this thought here. And you sort of answered it, but I just want to maybe get you to expand a little bit more on it. And, you said that you obviously try things on. You want to know, hey, if it's going to work for me, then, I'm going to certainly consider putting it into the collection. If it doesn't, not so much. So have you ever looked at a design that's come through, or even maybe looked at fabrics and thought to yourself, not so much? And if so, I mean, you don't have to get specifics, but what you indicated some of the criteria, but when that happens, is it mainly because it just doesn't feel right, or you don't think it's going to look right, or it's not going to be as functional as what you hope? Like, what are some of the real top criteria that you look at to make or break whether something's going to get into the line, besides obviously you feeling comfortable?
Good question. So what happens is when we receive samples, first of all, I send in my designs to the factory. We send them overseas. They create samples for us. So sometimes designs on paper look fantastic, but once you get them into fabric, they really don't. That's happened before. Sometimes I create pockets that have different welts in the back of them, different colors. When you put it on, it looks like you have two eyebrows over your bum. I mean, it really, we found that out this year. That looked horrible. That went out the door really quickly. But the idea was, it was a really great idea on paper. So it's visual, it's fit, it's whether the buttons, like, even though they're pull-on pants, we'll do like a faux fly, and we'll do a button fly. How does this work? Does it fall properly? Is it centered? That's another one. Like, can they get the fly centered? Make sure that it's perfectly even. It's just a little details. It's how it sits on your body. We also, this season, which I thought was really fun, is we put a little bit of elastic in the ends of our pocket openings. So what happens is, if you put your hands in the pants pocket, it gives you a little bit more stretch. So that also gives you a little bit more hip stretch. At the end of the day, if you've worn the pants for all day, or, for a good 6 to 8 hours, your whole body expands by the end of that time. What that does is it gives you more comfort and more stretching. It makes the fabric move with you better, and it makes the fabric and the garment more comfortable. So we added that into all of our skirts and our pants this season. And I love the idea of it because they can be colored. We can contrast the color. We can make them matching. We can do all kinds of things with them, but it's really a functional item and piece that we've added to the bottoms that make it better and more comfortable for a long time wear.
And just play devil's advocate, I guarantee it, there would have been somebody that would have worn those pants, even with that look. There's always something for somebody, but I get that. Now, I was just curious because when you think about it, people don't really appreciate what goes into putting together a line like yours. I mean, when we look at it, we say, well, that's pretty simple. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. But then when you put it on and I mean, obviously you have a men's collection. I'm not going to put on the women's wear, but people are looking at it and they're saying, okay, this is a very simple design, but it's comfortable. I can mix match, I can wear whatever. And that's very important to a lot of people this day and age. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but I want to ask you something as far as demographically. Traditionally, obviously, women have dominated the fashion market as far as steering where trends go and things like that. And I think more and more men are starting to take a bigger role as far as that. But are you seeing also other demographics like age? Are you seeing a younger generation being more influential in lines like yours now we're coming through? And are you having to pivot to that, or are you still pretty traditional in, and I don't mean when I say mature women, I'm not saying necessarily 60 above or anything, but typically with golf attire, when it first came in the market, it tends to stick to a more older demographic, but now you're seeing a lot of younger trends coming into the lines. Is that something that you guys are looking at seriously or have been looking at, or has that always been part of swing control?
Well, it's always been part of swing control, but the demographics have changed a little bit. So before it was more of a Missy line when we were doing bottoms. So Missy meaning anywhere between like 40 and 65.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at something in our age between 30 and 55. So yes, it does change. And one of the key things that changed just recently is the skirt length. Skirt lengths have been predominantly 20 inches to 18 inches. Well, now you're looking at skirt lengths going up to 16, 14, and 12 inches, depending on the course. And we're seeing a lot of, depending on where you are in the country, the skirt lengths change dramatically. It depends on which course you have. You're playing, if you're playing a more traditional course, your skirt length would probably be about 20 to 18 inches. But if you're playing at a more progressive course, your skirt length is 16 to 14 inches. So we're seeing a lot of the ladies change that length, being more comfortable wearing a shorter length. It's easier to, I'm not going to say it's easier to walk in, because obviously all of them are very comfortable to wear, but they do, the fitness level has changed quite a bit. So I think women that play golf are usually have a tendency to be fairly fit and active, and they do want to show off their bodies. So,
sure.
So we've really kind of put that into the collection, where we've shortened our dresses a bit. Our dresses are about 35 inches long. So that's from the top of the shoulder to the end of the bottom of the dress. And we've also shortened the skirts. So predominantly our skirts are 16 inches. We do have requests for longer ones, but we also have requests for shorter ones too. So I'm for right now, I think the sweet spot is about 16 inches. We'll stay probably close to that, but we will offer a longer length as well. So yes, the answer to the question is yes, we do watch what happens with the younger generation, what they're asking for, what they're wearing, consistently watching what's going on in the market, but trying to really find that fine line between what's really fashionable and then what's comfortable and what can actually be worn on the course. We still have to consider that it is a golf collection.
Right.
What can we put out there that can be worn and that can be sold in the pro shop and the ladies feel comfortable wearing?
And it's interesting because when you look at the trends over the last decade or so in golf in general, you're seeing more and more women coming to the game than ever before. I mean, if you look at the National Golf Foundation as an example, I mean, most of the new, now it may have changed in the last year or so, but for a long time, it was anywhere from 35+% of all new golfers were, or actually it was probably higher than that. And I think it was a third of those were in that sort of sweet spot of the 30 to 55 now, whereas before it was traditionally older women that were getting into golf because their husbands were playing or whatever. And believe it or not, as tragic as it was, COVID played a role as well, because, as you know, up in Canada and here in the States, everybody was in lockdown mode for a while, and golf was one of the very few activities that you were permitted to get out and do whatever. And it brought a lot of people in that never were exposed to the game. And I've noticed in women's golf particularly that it's become more fashion forward in what they wear out in the golf course. They want to look good. They want to look good. They feel good. They're young. They're youthful. What have you? Their vitality is there, and they want to get out there. And it's not just about playing. It's about looking good while playing. So I can see that's going to be, as time goes on, that's going to be more and more of a progressive move as well. And even the young guys are getting a little more trendy out there too than what some of the old guys like me were 40, 30, 40 years ago. So I can see that changing things as well. So you mentioned a couple things that were new for this year's lineup, but what are some of the biggest changes this season compared to, say, last season?
Some of the biggest changes are definitely the more squirts that we have, the shorter the length. We're really using that across the board. It's more about, I wouldn't say so much about changes. It's more about using what we know is going to work for everyone, and what we've tried and tested and found true to what is swing control. So it's more about comfort. We've really pushed the envelope as far as dresses are concerned, because dresses are really new for women in the market. So we did this really cute little polo dress for last season with the little shorts that matched. And this season we're adding on to the dresses, but they're a little bit more off-course dresses. So they're really fun to be worn in the morning when you're going to the office, and then you can go play. So we're doing things that are a little bit more fashion forward, as opposed to sport centered, where the PK dress was really sport centered. So those things we're working on, but basically really it's keeping the comfort level high and using the fabrics that we know that are actually, comfortable, working, wash well, wear well, that print well. I create a lot of the prints that we do for our collections. So I'm very conscious of that as well. And I go from really large prints in some areas to very small ones that are, little hand drawings. So those things are most what we're doing for 2026. We did this really cute, kitschy little dress with big hearts on it and golf balls that match for the season, in this great, shocking pop art pink, green, and white. So Preppy's coming back for us for 2026. Which I absolutely adore. That was really big for me when I was younger, and it seems to really have resonated with everyone at this point. We've noticed that it's done exceedingly well. And then we did, for one of our next drops, our color stories was like a black and silver group, and then a navy and red group. So very traditional colors, but just done in a way that is very traditional, but with a kick to it. It's got something that makes it really exciting and cute, and that's where we're headed. So I don't want to be absolutely crazy off the mark. I want to make something that someone's going to pick up and go, oh, I really love this. I can wear this to this, and this, as opposed to I can only wear this on the course.
I want to, for people to sort of have a better understanding of kind of how this works for you. I don't think people really, they think, okay, well, fall fashion, but you're actually starting this well in advance. It's not like you're starting the month before. You're starting months ahead of time, if not even, the previous year, and getting ready for next season's collection. How do you guard against, because again, I know you're looking at trends and things like that, but for instance, fashion kind of went from traditional colors and, blues, reds, that sort of thing. And then you started seeing more pastel colors coming in. Then you see a mixture, a blend. Now it's sort of moving back to more of a traditional colors, as you just pointed out. How do you guard against? Because, I mean, you've got things coming out, and let's say, okay, for 2026, you're going to more traditional colors. What happens by the time the line comes out and people start saying, well, I want to start wearing pastels again, or some, I mean, I know I'm just trying to make it simple as possible, but how do you guard against that? Because that's got to happen from time to time, where by the time your line's coming out, and I know it's not just for you, but for everybody, that things, because they're changing so fast, how do you avoid, I guess, that, or I guess it's just the luck of the draw?
Well, it is a little bit of luck of the draw. It's a lot of research, but Pantone puts out color stories and color popular colors that will be for the season a couple of years before.
Okay.
So we look at all of those and we take those into consideration for us. So we can't always use the colors that they're pushing, but we can use a form of the color, or one of a tone of the color that they are introducing. Sure. So basically that's what a lot of designers follow, because that keeps us in the trend. But it also, if you know how to use it for what you're doing, so for golf, you really want to keep things a little bit more bright, a little bit more fun and easy to coordinate with what you already have in the closet. So those are my thoughts when I see it. So yes, it's sometimes it's a big like step into the unknown. But most of the time, if you do your research enough and well enough in advance, because we really have the collection down a year in advance. And you have to remember, it takes like 3 months to make fabric. Right. It takes another couple of months to produce the collection overseas. And then we have to ship it here. And it could be anywhere from 3 weeks to a month and a half on water. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of logistics that go into how to do the collection. And that's something you have to be really conscious of, especially if we're doing anything so for private label or anything along those lines, because you have to be really conscious of when those garments have to be in the stores. So there are a lot of research articles out there that help us along the way. You just have to kind of make sure you do your research. Again, it's research. They don't tell you that in school. They always try to tell you that it's really fun and, that there's all kinds of stuff that you can do and it's exciting. And, there's all this recognition, but it really is, it comes down to research, and you spend a lot of time with fabrics and colors and trying to figure out what, how to put them all together to make this collection work. And that's when the magic happens. Yeah. When it all comes together.
Well, and that's why people don't. The reason I mention that is because people don't really understand. It's like with any business, you have your R&D department, for equipment and things like that. And I mean, they're spending years in preparation for products that may be coming out, and you guys are doing the same. And that's why I wanted people to have a little bit of an understanding, because if you've got something that's coming out for spring of 2026, it's not actually coming out in spring; it's actually coming out before in ahead of. So then when you back it up, several months for, doing the research and getting the product and then getting it over and then trying it out and yay, nay, whatever. And you have to kind of go back sometimes. I mean, you could be looking as you said, a minimum of 6 months to a year before, yes. Right? Is that, I mean, it might vary for certain components. And maybe some seasons, because you're always making some changes. Some seasons may not require as much, change, because trends maybe are not, moving as much. I mean, they are moving quite a bit, but so you have some flexibility. But I don't think people really realize how much, like you said, preparation and how much research goes into this. They just see the clothes, in the online or in the stores or what have you. And I don't think they fully appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of testing. There's a lot of, checks and balances that have to be done before a line comes out. And it's just always fascinating to me when I see that. And I see companies like Swing Control and what you have to go through just so that, the ladies can look good out in the golf course. And I'm not forgetting the guys, because I know you do have some guys
we do
line as well. I'm hoping that you're going to increase that as time goes on. We need to look good too. We're tired of you guys always getting the better of the mix, and we're always sort of schlepping around looking like a bunch of old, rusty old dogs or something on the golf course. So we need you to step it up a little bit at Swing Control for us guys. But no, you guys have got some great stuff. So what's the most challenging part? I know the research is difficult. You talked about that. What's the most challenging part of your job, do you think? And what's the most rewarding part?
The most challenging part of my job is the start, is getting started. And everything kind of ruminates in my head for a while before I start. I've been thinking about it or seeing it. And before I can even put it into the computer and get my drawings down, it takes a while to kind of put that all together. So the hardest part is really sitting down and going, okay, put it on paper, see how this looks. Like the welt pockets with a contrast color. That was a really good idea until it wasn't. So it's really that's the hardest part, getting started, getting the samples in, checking them, making sure they fit properly, all of that. The most rewarding part is actually seeing people that I don't know wearing the product and loving it. The most rewarding part is talking to people and saying, you know what, I have been wearing Swing Control since 2015. it is a hidden gem. It's got a cult following, and I love it. And if you know, you know. And I was taken aback by that, because I was like, I didn't realize how important the overall fit and look was to women who have been wearing the collection for so long.
Mhm.
And that is the most rewarding. And when you see joy in people's faces that they actually love something, or when they pick it up and they're like, oh my God, that is so beautiful, or that is just so much fun to wear, or I love the weight of the fabric, or the fabric feels so amazing. And those things make me happy. Like that is just the culmination of the year and a half that it's taken to put the collection together. It could take 2 weeks just to find a button that you really like, or that works. A zipper. I mean, all of those things, all of the trims are kind of like the icing on the cake. Those are all the pieces that really pull it all together. So that takes a long time to work with. So when you see it all come together and you see people wearing it and you see the joy that it brings, that overrides everything else.
Yeah, it's the attention. You raised some really good points there. The attention is in the detail. I mean, it's not just you're slapping things together and it's material and that. I mean, everything from the buttons to, as you said, the zipper and other components as well. I mean, there's a lot of thought process that goes into that, because again, it's not just about being comfortable. It has to look good. And I think, would this be, I guess, a fair and accurate statement that even though you guys typically would consider yourself a golf fashion company, it's really evolved more than that, because it's almost a lifestyle now. As you said, it's no longer just, for the golf course. You kind of talked about this earlier, and you've mentioned this obviously previous times you've been on the show, where swing control has now become not just, okay, here's what we got for the golf course, but you can wear all or a combination of these things in your business life, in your personal life, going out for dinner, getting together with the girls for drinks or whatever the case may be. So is it fair to say then that you guys are not just a golf fashion company anymore, but you're really a lifestyle brand?
Yes, absolutely. We are. It is definitely lifestyle. It is part of the way I design, is that one season blends into the next. So there's no pieces that don't work together, or that they can't find another piece that doesn't work together. So that's what's really been fun with members and teams. So they can always, the women can have these great team looks, and then they can change them out for the next season, but you still have a shirt that works with the bottom, or a bottom that works with a new shirt. Sure. So all of those things are really well thought through and thought out. So we just want to, for instance, I wore a pair of fall 24, my first collection, fall 24, the snakeskin pants that we did, the print, the other day to the office with a button-down shirt. And one of my colleagues was like, oh my God, are those ours? And I was like, yeah, of course they are. And I'm like, what do you think? And they're like, that is so cool. They look great. And I'm like, I know, this is the idea. They're still really comfortable to wear on the course, but I can wear them to the office. And people are like, wait a minute, they're double checking it to say, they obviously know our collection, but when you wear it in a different way, right, it creates more interest. So we are absolutely more than just a golf collection.
Yeah. And I think that's what I've noticed has really changed a lot, because, I go down, as I know you guys do, to the PGA show every year in Orlando. And, I look at what people are wearing, and I look at from season to season. And again, obviously the women's apparel side of things is much bigger in every demographic. I mean, it's not just golf, it's everywhere. And again, that's probably why you guys all look so great, and we look like a bunch of trolls, but no, you know what I mean? I'm kidding. But it's just the diversity of what I see, and every year it's just the same thing. I mean, I've been to your booth and that down there, and I just see every season it's something different. It's like, wow, how do they keep coming up with this stuff? I mean, it's just amazing. I give you and your team credit for working so hard behind the scenes to just make it, it different. And so it goes to your staff, it goes to the other team members and ownership in that as well, to say, okay, we want to we want to put our best foot forward every season. And yeah, we're might have started out one way, but we're evolving into something different. While not, forgetting our roots, if you will. I mean, again, what I'm referring to is obviously a golf fashion, but again, becoming more of a lifestyle brand that people can wear things. And golfers today, I mean, I can look back, a decade or so ago, and you would go to the golf course in, one outfit, and then you would, go and clean up and whatever, you'd wear something different. And now with the way golf is, and especially with the clothing, because it is moisture absorbing and it's even repelling now in some ways, you're not coming out feeling like a wet rat, because you're out heating that, you're coming out still very refreshed, and like you did when you went to the golf course in the morning. And so again, people are more comfortable wearing these, clothes in different environments. Again, throwing a jacket on if it's cooler out, or throwing, maybe changing tops, but again, keeping the same pants or vice versa. So there's a lot of versatility in that. So that's got to make you guys feel extra proud, as you go through the season, to be able to see the diversity of how your clothing is being worn. And just as you pointed out, the young lady who saw you wearing, a pant that you had from a few years ago and saying, wow, is that one of ours? Like, that's just got to really, send the message home, right?
Absolutely. It was really funny. We both laughed, and just a change of shoes would make a difference in the pants. You'd be surprised at what we wear at the office. So since, even though we're a fashion brand and we have two other lines under our header, you'll often see everybody in the office with jeans and Converse and a t-shirt on.
Sure.
The dress code, because we don't see a lot of buyers in the office, the dress code is very casual. So it is funny when one of us does wear something that's a little bit more dressy than normal. Everyone takes notice, and then they'll take even more notice if it was actually a piece from one of our previous collections. Yes.
Right.
So it's always fun to see that. But yes, of course it's important, because even at the office, you're sitting behind a desk all day, or you're up and moving around. And we have a very large space in our office building. So it's a very long walk between, say, my office, where I'm located, to the main office. So we're always moving around and walking around. So you want to make sure that they're really, those pieces are really comfortable. Mm-hmm. So part of my trying on every single sample is also wearing it all day to see whether it wrinkles, to see whether it is comfortable all day, to see whether the knees stay the same shape. All of those things are very important. Mm-hmm. And I found that the air spun pants that we created, everyone was like, oh, I'm not so sure about how this was going to go, like how we were going to take it, because most of our pants are pretty structured. Mm-hmm. They have quite a bit of stretch, but they're still quite a bit structured. These are very lightweight and pull on, and they're so cute. So they're really comfortable to wear with sneakers or with like shoes, regular shoes. And I love that. I think that's really fun to wear at the office. So that to me is the crossover. That's how I know that it's going to work. That's how I know that this is going to stay in the collection, or that the print really works, because everybody in the office is like, oh, I really love that print. Now, we're here in our office, we're very particular. If they don't like something, they're going to let you know. Right. This is not going to work. Yeah. And, I often get, because we have two other collections under our header, I often get like the production team going, oh, Nancy, what are you thinking? And I'm like, but I really like it. What, like, this works with this. And then they understand. But, sure. Nobody's shy to say what they think and how they feel about something. So it has to pass the muster in our office before it can ever go out the door.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense, because you don't want to, and again, it's constructive criticism is really what it is. And you want that. You want to invite that, especially in a business like yours, because you don't want to release a line and then find out afterwards, like, oy, like that's what I was alluding to earlier. Is that okay? Not so much this one. You want to get that feedback, the constructive feedback, because then you can pivot, you can make changes, and you want to obviously rely on what your customers think and the direction you're going. And, some maybe don't like a lot of change, but some, do want to see new and fresher prints and things like that. So there's a lot involved. As we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you this final question. And I know you obviously are always looking ahead, and you may not necessarily look this far ahead, I don't know, but where do you see, because as I alluded to in the beginning, with technology and with trends going on, the world is just moving at a fast pace. Where do you see the evolution of fashion, particularly where you guys are concerned, 5 years out from now? What's going to be the big changes do you foresee coming in the future in what you're doing? Is it just more materials, different materials, better materials, stronger, whatever the case may be? Or do you see a major shift in how the fashion is put together? I mean, what do you see happening or not at all? Is it just going to kind of keep plodding along season to season? How do you see it in 5 years?
I think that there's going to be a few aspects of it. I do think that there will be some traditional fabrics that will still be in the collection because those are things that are very popular still, and they've been popular for so long that people really, really like them. But I also think that there's going to be parts of the collection that are going to change as far as, say, the seam sealed parts of it. So instead of having it be sewn by thread, we have a seam sealing. So the fabrics are moisture wicking, water repellent. And, right. We're going to go into more outerwear. So I'd like to head us into that direction. 1, 2, I think that we'll probably see a lot more dresses. I could be wrong, but I think that it's getting very slowly moving into that direction, but they're so comfortable to wear. And they look so nice on everyone. I think that's starting, the whole outlook of skirts or pants are starting to move in that direction as well. So there's a bunch of different components. And I think as far as fabric is concerned, the most important is it's really just a hand feel and comfort. So we're, as far as yarns and threads, that's always evolving. But the basics of it are going to be just that it's moisture wicking, that it's UV protectant, and we'll see a lot more of that too. Longer sleeves so we can cover ourselves from the sun. Lighter weight, but still functioning garments. All of those things. So it's not just one area that we'll see change. I think all areas are going to change, or the structure will be a bit different. But we'll still have our basic. And then we'll just move forward from there. But I think you'll see from us more outerwear. I think we're headed in that direction. I think there's definitely a market for it. I know that we do really well with our quilted jackets and our vests. So that's something I'm really looking into. Again, dresses, looking into those as well. I love them. I think they're really beautiful, and I think they make everybody look really nice. So we're going to continue in line, and we're going to grow with the product. We're going to grow with what we're seeing in the market, and we'll evolve with what's happening. But it won't go in one direction. It'll grow in multiple directions.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I think you're going to see a lot of changes. There's always going to be sort of the core, fashion that people will stick with, that lasts the decades. And then you're going to see obviously new changes along the way. And it's going to be interesting to see where things are, even 5 years, even 2 years out. I mean, things are just rapidly moving at such a quick pace. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But always interesting to have you on the show. And it was great to sort of unofficially meet you face to face, if you will. And I appreciate coming and sharing some of the latest things happening at Swing Control. You guys, I think, have a great company. And again, for those of you who have not been up to Montreal, get yourselves up there. It's if nothing else, go up and see and visit Nancy at Swing Control. All right, I want to thank all of my guests for joining me tonight. Special thanks to Jim Endicott and Jamie Leno Zimron, for doing a great job on the Coach's Corner panel segment a little bit earlier, and also a special thanks to my travel expert Robert Kaufman and tonight's featured travel guest Scott Cowan, the executive director of golf at Wynn Golf Club in Las Vegas. And then last but not least, of course, my featured guest of the evening, Nancy Robitaille from Swing Control. Don't forget to tune in each and every week. And if you want to see this episode and others, visit our YouTube channel, iGolf Sports, or on Spotify.com. And if you want to listen to the audio version later, it'll be available at Spreaker.com or basically wherever you listen to podcasts. But don't forget to subscribe to the channels as new episodes drop weekly. But thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.